Next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Brian O'Neill.
And always glad to have with us on our live line State Senator Tom OMara. Senator, thank you for joining us live this morning.
Good morning, Brian. Good to be on.
Well, Senator OMara, question in a lot of people's minds, will there be school in the fall? Today is Monday, July the 6th. What do we know?
Well, we're still waiting to see how things are going to play out. We've been in communication recently with school administrators from across the region who are eager to get back to school. They believe that they can do it responsibly and safely. We're going to have to wait and see how the COVID situation plays out over the next couple of months. But working with these school administrators and their confidence in their ability to be able to disinfect and do things safely. I think moving forward, it's going to be a good thing to get the kids back into school. We saw a week or so ago that the American Academy of Pediatrics came out with an opinion and recommendations on getting kids back in school, that it's so much more beneficial to have them in school than this kind of isolation they've been in. Pediatrics across the country are very concerned about the kids' mental well-being. We've seen rises in adolescent suicides, depression, anxiety, substance abuse throughout this COVID lockdown period. And kids need this socialization, and that's a big part of their learning process. Pediatrics have indicated it's very important to get them back in, and I'm happy that our school administrators are confident that they can do it safely. Hopefully, the numbers of COVID stay low in our region, and we're able to get back and do that.
Now, different times throughout this COVID period, we've heard Governor Andrew Cuomo use the phrase rethinking and reimagining in terms of the way that we do school, the governor has said. Meaning, I think what he means there anyway is, will there be more online classes? Will there be more students studying from home? Is this a long-term thing? Your thoughts, Senator?
I don't, I think it's always good to have capabilities to do those types of things for kids to be able to do things from home. We still have so many families that are remote and don't have access at home to internet at all, let alone high-speed internet. So, there's a pretty sizable percentage. I think it's somewhere around 20-25% of kids in most districts don't have access to this. Now you can get it at regional libraries and other places that may have Wi-Fi, but for too many kids, it's not a viable option. And the governor came out with this reimagining thing. It was, when he was rubbing elbows with Bill Gates, and he kind of has been starry-eyed with these billionaires lately, with Bill Gates and Mike Bloomberg, and working with Google, throughout all of his daily shows that he had on. So, reimagining it and being remote, certainly according to what as I mentioned, the Pediatrics Association, they really stress the importance of the socialization aspect of kids being together and working, studying, live, in person and interacting with each other. So it's very important. And, with Bill Gates reimagining, it's very concerning because that's the road the governor went down with Common Core and, changing the education system, which didn't go well, did not go well at all. And I think we got to be very leery in making those kinds of whole-scale changes to the education system.
You know, you talk about Bill Gates there, Senator O'Mara. From what I can tell from just reading people's Facebook posts, Gates is not well liked by a lot of people on both sides, left and right. Do you get that sense too?
Yeah, kind of. I frankly, I don't pay much attention to him, what he's doing one way or the other. You know, he's got a huge foundation with a lot of money to throw around, so that gets people's attention, unfortunately. But and I think he does some good things. I really don't know all of what his philanthropy does, but I know that you know, we cause a lot of problems with this switch to Common Core and heavy reliance on standardized testing in trying to track kids' progress. It made a lot of anxiety with a lot of kids, a lot of parents, and I don't think that whole trial really went well for our education system.
Talking with State Senator Tom O'Mara this morning here on the Newsmaker show. Senator, you've been pushing this almost since the beginning of the COVID, and the New York Post broke a story said that there's several watchdog groups that want Governor Andrew Cuomo's emergency powers scaled back now that the COVID situation has gotten better. What's the latest there?
Well, the legislature has to step up and pass a concurrent resolution of both houses that his powers be terminated. You know, we've had 2 weeks of session since COVID started where we've been in Albany. We've taken up legislation. We Republicans in both houses moved amendments to legislation that was being brought up to include language to terminate the governor's emergency powers, get the legislature back involved in the process. Republicans unanimously supported that amendment, but there's Democrat majorities in both houses of the legislature now, and the Democrats in both houses unanimously voted to not terminate his powers. So, you know, we're dumbfounded by that, by the legislature at this stage of the game, when numbers are down, things are pretty much stabilized. Why we would not get back into the business of checks and balances, as the legislature is supposed to be a part of our three-pronged government of judicial, executive, and legislative branches. I believe that the Democrats are just content to sit back and let Cuomo make all the decisions. Therefore, anything goes wrong, he'll get the blame for it, and not the legislature. It's not a good way to be operating, and I'm very discontented with that, and concerns that you know, the governor has been abusing his power. You know, he started out doing a good job with the whole situation, but has really over the last month and a half, I think, been abusive with his authority, going far, you know, beyond just COVID situations with legislation, particularly in regard to our elections. And you know, we need to get back to the state assembly, the state senate, getting involved in negotiating these things and actually passing legislation for the governor to sign.
There are some out there who speculated that the conservative commentators have been hitting Governor Andrew Cuomo hard because that they're fearful that Governor Andrew Cuomo is going to get dragged into a presidential race because of Vice President Joe Biden's health at the moment. And if Cuomo did want to run for president, would this governing by executive order kind of thing, would that sort of history hurt Cuomo in a presidential race at the national level?
Well, it certainly should, because you know, we've seen with different styles of presidents over the years that some try to do a lot more by executive order than going through the legislature. And, that's not what the American people like. They do like to get back to the idea of checks and balances and having accountability. And, we're not a dictatorship. The decisions in our country and, frankly, in New York State should be made through a legislative process and not by one-man rule.
Talking with State Senator Tom OMara. It's kind of a funny thing. The liberals think that the Republicans are going to recruit Tucker Carlson to run for president. The conservatives aren't pushing that, but the liberals are. And then on the other side, the conservatives have Governor Andrew Cuomo getting drafted and dragged in to run in the place of Joe Biden. What are your thoughts on that idea of Cuomo being drafted at a convention?
I could see it happening. I think Cuomo has certainly done everything he can of late to put himself on that kind of a stage. I think it's a terrible process. I think that changing the candidate for president at that late stage is not the way the process is supposed to go. It goes to show, I think, the lack of confidence that people have in the candidates on either side at this point. But it's the other side that's kind of doing this wishful thinking that there'll be some change. So I don't really think that's going to happen. But I think Cuomo's certainly been speculating that it's a possibility.
We're talking with State Senator Tom OMara live on Newsmaker this morning. Going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
The Ryan Agencies, your local, independent insurance agencies. The Ryan Agency supports your hometown. Unlike online insurance companies, the good people at the Ryan Agency live and invest here, annually supporting many local organizations. Contact the Ryan Agencies today, your hometown supporter and source for all things insurance.
Insurance protection you can rely on. The Ryan Agency.
Checking in now with meteorologist Gary Best, who says it's summer sizzler kind of weather.
You got that right, Brian. Good morning. We've got some heat and humidity on the way for most of this week coming up. This morning sunrise was at 5:41. It'll set this evening at 8:51. And we're looking at sunshine with a few scattered clouds around during today, right around 90 this afternoon, with a chance of an afternoon shower or thunder shower. If it does occur, it'll end this evening, then scattered clouds, low 60s overnight. We're back up to 90 or even low 90s on Tuesday, mostly sunny with a chance of afternoon showers and storms. Mostly sunny, hot, humid weather for Wednesday. Afternoon thunderstorms a possibility with a high of 90. Low 90s expected for Thursday and Friday, Brian.
Gary, do you have a sense of how long the temperatures are going to be in the 90s for?
Well, they're going to be in the 90s for most of this week, although next week looks a little bit cooler, mainly in the 80s, but still very warm.
Back with State Senator Tom OMara live on the Newsmaker Show. In the last segment, Senator, we talked about how some of the conservative commentators had been very critical of Governor Andrew Cuomo. The issue usually that they bring up is the nursing home situation where the numbers vary. Like some people say the usual number is 6,200 died in New York State nursing homes because of the COVID-19 rules, mixing the patients in with COVID patients, the elderly patients in with COVID patients in nursing homes, a rule that came down from the New York State Health Department. And Congressman Tom Reed says Governor Andrew Cuomo himself was warned about this and told about this by different medical organizations. And the latest on this is, and Cuomo went ahead with this rule anyway, or let his state health department do it. Continued calls for independent investigations come from the likes of Newt Gingrich, again, Congressman Tom Reed, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. They're all mentioned on a Fox story that's on the Fox News Channel's website this morning. They're wanting more investigations. What do you think?
I'm strongly pushing for investigations to how this egregious decision was made. It was not in conformance with recommended CDC guidelines. we're trying to get to the bottom of who actually made this decision. There was an interesting development this week. I was reading a news article about the retirement of the individual in the Department of Health that oversees the nursing home health care in this state. And he'd been around for 31 years, I believe the article said, and he was retiring. But it also threw in a little mention in there that he had nothing to do with the decision to send COVID-positive patients into nursing homes. Now, if a 31-year veteran who oversees nursing homes for New York State wasn't involved in that decision-making process, then who was? And somebody should be held accountable for this really devastating decision that was made that led to many thousands of deaths of our elderly that potentially could have been, lessened if that decision had not been made to require the nursing homes to take COVID-positive patients back in from hospitals. There's a lot of discussion right now that we're not even sure what those numbers are. We know that there are at least 6,300 nursing home deaths, but there's a lot of speculation out there that a lot of the deaths haven't been counted, the deaths that actually occurred in hospitals where a nursing home patient that got COVID and had to be transferred to a hospital then died in the hospital. There's speculation that those numbers have not been included in the 6,300 number. So the investigation is important. I also think it's important that it not be done by the state itself because of the great influences that Cuomo is very capable of doing. We've seen pretty much any kind of commission or task force that gets put out there. Cuomo dominates from behind the scenes and gets the decision that he wants. So I think it's important. I've been working on this issue with Tom Reed. I know he's been way out in front on it, as we all were locally in Hornell when we were dealing with the nursing home issues in Hornell. And I think our involvement at that time with Jack Wheeler and Darlene Smith, Tom Reed, Assemblyman Marjorie Burns, and Phil Palmisano were all working on that and really complaining at why were these patients being put back into nursing homes to fuel the spread of it. We knew from the outset, from the initial cases in this country out in Washington in a nursing home, just how deadly it would be in a nursing home and how quickly it would spread. And this fateful decision that was made certainly fueled that fire. And it's the day after the executive order was made by the governor on this, the National Organization Society for Long-Term Care came out with an opinion that said it was dangerous, that said it shouldn't be done, that it wasn't in line with safe medical or scientific concerns, and the governor, at least his staff, received that memo from that Society of Long-Term Care, which represents doctors, nurses, PAs, therapists that work actually in the nursing homes. It's not a society of the owners of the nursing homes. It's a society of the professionals working in the nursing homes. And that was the day after that order went, but the order continued in effect for some 6-7 weeks, I think.
Down to the last 60 seconds or so with State Senator Tom OMara. A campaign trail question. Leslie Danks Burke, are you part of that Liz Benjamin forum? I got an email this morning saying that Liz Benjamin is going to be interviewing Leslie Danks Burke tomorrow online on the Auburn Pub's website. Wasn't clear if this was a debate forum or if you would be a part of that.
I haven't heard of it, so no, I'm not a part of it. Liz Benjamin. She used to do the Capital Tonight Show. I thought she was in some consulting.
Yeah, I thought she was doing some kind of lobbying thing, but apparently it said that she's going to be hosting some kind of forum with a number of candidates running for state senate.
No, doesn't include me at this point. Maybe it will down the road, but I haven't been contacted by Liz.
Sure thing. Down to the last 30 seconds or so. Will there be any debates, Senator?
Oh, definitely. There'll be debates. 4 years ago when Leslie Danks Burke ran against me, I think we had 9 different forums and debates throughout the cycle. I look forward to debates. I think it's an important part of the process, and I'm sure that we will do some.
Great. With that, we have to let you go, Senator Tom OMara. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, Brian. Thank you, and enjoy this beautiful day.